Hey, you guys having fun here? Well, help support our efforts at patreon.com/BattleGeekPlus.
Welcome to Awesome Video Game Memories, where we talk about awesome memories about video games. I'm Ryan, and the game we're talking about today is Resident Evil Code Veronica. Yeah, so I remember back in 1999, this game was getting a lot of hype online and in magazines, completely overshadowing Resident Evil 3. I also remember thinking that Code Veronica was actually going to be Resident Evil 3 because we barely got any Resident Evil 3 coverage, or maybe even none at all, because Resident Evil 3 just kind of popped out of nowhere. So when Resident Evil 3 was released, I was like, wait a minute. So Code Veronica isn't Resident Evil 3 or not Resident Evil 4? I mean, what's going on? And then later we learned that Sony had exclusive rights to the main Resident Evil series, which are the numbered ones, and then the spin-offs had to be on other systems. But personally, I do think Code Veronica is the real sequel to Resident Evil 2, while Resident Evil 3 Nemesis is kind of more of a fan game. Well, or more of a fan service game where you get to play as fan favorite Jill Valentine. Yeah, so I remember in late 1999 or early 2000, when I was at Funko Land before it became GameStop, they were showing a Dreamcast promo tape on the TV screens there, and they were showing the beginning of Resident Evil Code Veronica, you know, where Claire runs away from the Umbrella helicopters, obviously not getting shot, and then after that she gets trapped by all those guys, and then she drops her gun, shoots the barrels in this badass Matrix type fashion, because The Matrix was the big movie of that year, and then she gets caught by Rodrigo Juan Raval, and then the tape stops and shows Resident Evil Code Veronica coming in 2000. So being a really poor college student at that time, I was renting a room kind of close to my campus, and I was working part-time at my campus. I couldn't afford a Dreamcast on September 9, 1999 because I couldn't find it anywhere. Yeah, I remember trying to look for a Dreamcast, and I couldn't get it anywhere. By the time this game came out in February 2000, I still couldn't afford it. So I couldn't afford it till a month later in March 2000. I was saving up money, and my parents would be pretty cool and send me an extra $200 a month for food and stuff. And I kind of spent that $200 on my Dreamcast and Code Veronica. So thanks, Mom and Dad. Yeah, so I didn't really look up a lot of information about this game when it first came out because, I didn't want any spoilers. But then I remember opening up the game and then seeing, hey, Chris is back! Oh my god, Chris is back! Yes, Chris Redfield is back! He's got a shotgun! So I remember in March 2000, I set up my Dreamcast, I put the game in, then watching that teaser movie, I was like, holy shit, is Albert Wesker back? And what's with his eyes? Holy shit, Wesker's back! I thought he died in the first one! So I already talked about the super awesome movie-like intro. And then I remember being freed by Rodrigo. He's like, fuck it, you're free to go. But there's zombies. There's zombies everywhere. I was like, okay. And so I go upstairs. I'm like, oh, fuck. This is a graveyard. This is a Resident Evil game. And zombies are probably going to come out of the graves. And holy shit, was I right. And what was cool? The background wasn't static this time. It moved along with me. Even though there were still the tank controls. Now, people have mixed opinions on this character, Mr. Steve Burnside. He definitely annoyed the hell out of me at first with his super annoying voice.
He won't come. You'll just end up disappointed if you rely on others. Don't worry, Claire. Your knight in shining armor is here.
Yes!
Yes! Shut up.
But I gotta admit, he did kind of grow on me as the game progressed, especially up until, his demise. I kind of felt a little emotion there.
You're warm.
Oh, Steve! And of course, I remember going to that cabin and seeing the dogs drag that dead body under. Oh god. Yeah, this is gonna be pretty fucking scary. Ooh. Now, like I mentioned in the first Resident Evil video, I am a complete moron when it comes to solving the puzzles of Resident Evil. And back when I was playing it, there wasn't a lot of good guides on this game yet, so I had to solve a lot of this on my own. And it sucked. It sucked a lot. But eventually, I prevailed. But man, I really sucked at the puzzles in Code Veronica. Really, really bad. And also, one thing I didn't like about Code Veronica was, now Resident Evil 2 had a really good flow to it where you didn't have to do a lot of backtracking, but in Resident Evil 1 and 3 you had to do a lot of backtracking. The backtracking is a lot worse in Code Veronica. Like, you have to go like all the way here, then all the way here. I mean, I gotta go all the way here to get Rodrigo his painkillers, and I gotta go all the way back to the beginning, and you know, just going back and forth, back and forth. Yeah, this game, I got stuck at a lot of points too. Yeah, the backtracking in this game was pretty awful in my opinion. I mean, some of you might disagree with me, but yeah, way too much backtracking in this game. I also remember being really freaked out at the part where the scientist is banging on the window, "Hey, help, you gotta free me! Oh shit, I'm dead!" Oh yeah, of course, it's a Resident Evil game. He's gonna die. And also with Resident Evil Code Veronica, we got a lot of new baddies. Like, we got, you know, the mutated salamander, and my least favorite enemy, the Bandersnatch. Oh, I hated these goopy yellow dudes with the long arms. Like, oh god, I hated these guys, especially in battle mode. You know, so I did feel kind of sad for Steve when he had to kill his father, because his father sold Umbrella Secrets. I mean, you know, you sell Umbrella Secrets to the highest bidder, yeah, you're gonna be put on Rockford Island and turned into a zombie. And then we have Alfred Ashford. Now, I remember this guy was like, he's weird, very weird.
I am Alfred Ashford, commander of this base.
Oh? You must be one of Umbrella's lower level officers if you're in command of a backwater base like this one.
And he's even weirder when I found out he's a crossdresser.
We meet each other at last. A pity I must say goodbye so soon. I am Alexia Ashford.
What? No!
Wait a second. What just happened?
So there never was an Alexia after all.
You mean he thinks he's two people? Okay, that's it. Let's get out of here.
Okay, Alfred, I got nothing against, you know, what you do on your spare time, but, you know, your sister is in the Antarctic, so, you know, you don't have to dress up as her. You know, Alfred? And one of the most difficult parts of this game that I remember very, very well was the fight with Tyrant on the plane. Holy shit, did I have a very difficult time beating Tyrant. I remember pushing that button which sends the crate towards him, but then he doesn't fly out, and then you have to shoot him, and then you have to wait for the spring mechanism to get back into order, so you gotta wait before you can push the button again to launch him out. And I died at this part a lot. A lot. And then I remember going into the Antarctic with no weapons whatsoever because I wasted them on the Tyrant on the plane. Fuck that guy. And then Disc 2 begins, and you play as Chris Redfield wearing a STARS jacket. Chris, Raccoon City blew up a couple of months ago, and I don't think the STARS exists anymore. You know, there's some little organization called the BSAA. I think you might want to look into them. Yeah, I remember having trouble with that giant worm at first, and then it swallowed poor Rodrigo. Rodrigo was cool. He helped out Claire, and then he dies and he's reunited with his family. Thank you, Rodrigo. You're awesome. And then, one of my least favorite enemies, besides the Bandersnatchers in this game, make a return, and those are the motherfucking hunters. The hunters which I hated in parts 1 and 3. And oh boy, do they come back in this game. Fuck those guys. And then I remember, the badass himself returns. Albert motherfucking Wesker! And of course, this is the game where Albert Wesker has a more royal villainish voice. Chris, I hate you so much.
You have no idea how much I hate you.
Alexia?
Alexia?
The T Veronica virus.
I want it. Now.
When Wesker used to sound like this.
Stop it! Don't open that door!
Stop it! Don't open that door! And then when I saw when Chris punched Wesker's sunglasses off and he had those cat eyes, I remember like a lot of the message boards of Resident Evil saying like, oh my god, Wesker's so cute, he has kitty eyes now. And then I also remember the giant salamander swimming around in that lake with that item you need to get. I kind of forget what it is, but you'll see it in the footage. I sure as hell did not go inside that water. I was like, you know what, dude, I'm just gonna shoot you with my shotgun right outside the water where it's safe. So fuck you, giant salamander creature thingy-mabobber. And then, back in the Antarctic, I remember fighting Nosferatu, Alfred and Alexia's father, which they inject with the T Veronica virus. He was like, my open heart's outside, you must shoot me with the sniper rifle. And then the most tragic part of the game, where Claire has to free Steve from captivity. And then he mentions he was experimented on by Alexia, who came back to life, and Alfred died. Alexia experiments on Steve, then Steve turns into the big hulking monster! Holy shit, I died on this part a lot of times. And I gave Claire all the good ammo, and I still had a lot of trouble with it, but eventually I was able to prevail. And then I saw Steve, de-transforming. He's like, Claire, I love you, and I've only known you for like a day. Well, I'm gonna die anyway, so I might as well just let it all out.
Steve?
No, Steve! And now, this is kind of a funny part. I remember when I switched back to Chris, I did not have enough ammo to beat Alexia, because I literally left it all with Claire. And I didn't have another game save because back then I never kept multiple game saves because I am an idiot. Like I am with solving the puzzles in this game. So no matter how hard I tried, I even tried to beat Alexia with the knife, I had to restart the whole game. Jesus, and that sucked. Sucked so bad. But luckily at the time, there was a guide on GameFAQs I was able to use to blaze through it. I made sure I left Chris with the good ammo, and I was finally able to beat it. I got the linear launcher, then I was able to play battle mode. And battle mode was actually pretty fun. I beat it with all the characters except Wesker. I got really close to the end with Wesker in first person mode, no doubt. Yeah, so Resident Evil Code Veronica is the game I truly consider the sequel to Resident Evil 2, because 3 kind of came out of nowhere, and like I said earlier, it was more of a fan service game for fans than Jill, and I think the true story continues in Code Veronica. Like, you can kind of skip Resident Evil 3 and still play Code Veronica and not really miss out on anything. Well, if there's things I kind of dislike about Code Veronica, it's still scary, but not as scary as 1 or 2, and there's just way too much backtracking. And Rockford Island and the Antarctic are really large areas, and having to backtrack between those areas is really annoying in my opinion. And at least after this game, they totally fixed that problem starting from Resident Evil 4, which I will get to in the next video. Ooh, I can't wait. But overall, Resident Evil Code Veronica is a very solid game which does continue the story. It sets in place a lot of stuff that happens in the later sequels of the game. You can get the Dreamcast version of this game still for really cheap, and there was also a Resident Evil Code Veronica X that was released on PlayStation 2, which I also played, which has extra scenes with Wesker. There's a scene where Wesker encounters Claire, and there's also a scene where, before the end, where Wesker takes Steve's body, and then Chris fights him saying like, "This is for all my comrades, you sunglasses bastard! Ugh!" And also a couple years back, Capcom released an HD version of Code Veronica X, which I definitely recommend getting. Yeah, so that wraps up this episode of Awesome Video Game Memories about Resident Evil Code Veronica. And if you have any memories about this game, make sure to leave those in the comments below. Take care.
Hey, did you like what you see? Then come check us out at twitch.tv/BattleGeekPlus.